Hi everyone, it is the middle of May. We're back in the greenhouse and plants are going out the door for people to put out in their yards. We've got a lot of geraniums, we've got petunias. Everybody wants some big, bright, beautiful colors. Some people are looking at their foliage plants, and Matt Ross from Toledo Botanical is here again today. We're going to head back into the greenhouse and talk a little bit about plant nutrition to keep your flowers blooming and big and beautiful, as well as your foliage plants nice and green all throughout the summer. So we'll head in the back and let's talk with Matt. Matt, what are you doing?
I'm actually inspecting a plant to see if it's got a foliar fungus or if there's insect damage on it.
Okay, so tell us how you do that. What is it that you're looking at?
One of the things that I'm looking for is I start off with a hand lens, and about 10 times is about all you need.
Okay.
And I'd go through the foliage and I'd actually look to see if I saw any fruiting bodies of fungus.
Okay.
If I'm looking for instance, if I was looking for scale, which is a common insect on plants, I might see some little groupings of small little insects kind of coming together in a white pussy sac.
Okay.
Or you might even see black sooty mold or shot holes of insects feeding.
Okay.
Foliar deficiencies for nutrients, you normally get a different view.
Right.
And one of the major things that you'll see is you might see some yellowing. Yellowing is sometimes indicative of chlorosis. This is one of the plants right here that's notorious for that. This is a good gardenia.
Yep.
And gardenias are a beautiful plant.
Great.
Probably a good seller too because they've got such an amazing fragrance.
Right.
But in terms of keeping them up in their fertility, you oftentimes find yellowing.
Exactly.
And that yellowing is probably associated with their ability to uptake iron.
Okay.
And the iron is going to be one that's pH dependent.
Right.
So if you don't have the right pH and you have alkaline water, sometimes you'll see it go yellow real quick. When there's a number of ways you can try to remedy that. You can use an ironite product. You can also use what else do you have for iron here? There's ironite. There's
acid fertilizers.
Acidic fertilizers. You can use like for instance the Pink Miracle Grow, which has got muriatic acid in it. The other thing that you can do is you could use a natural product like green leaf compound, which you can mix into the soil and kind of scratch that in there.
Okay.
And the other thing you might need to do is test your water to see if you have too alkaline of water. A lot of your acid-loving plants prefer that pH well below 7, and oftentimes if you're working on municipal water, you're looking at pHs upwards of 8 and 8.5.
Okay. The nutrition also affects the flowering ability?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. With some of your large flowers, and this is a problem that we come into at the botanical gardens, is if you are using a high phosphorus fertilizer, something like this triple superphosphate, or a high second number, like a 060 or a 045, you can come into a situation where you can actually burn the flowers, and you'll see some blossom rot occasionally, which is kind of a bigger problem with bulbs than some of our other annuals. But you'll notice that they start to kind of curl or unfurl, and they are very disfigured. Okay. And oftentimes you'll see splotching on the flowers themselves, where the flower petals have big brown splotches on them. Okay.
We recommend that this phosphate is also something that the customers might see on the shelf as a plant starter.
Correct.
A starter fertilizer. And I think one thing that people need to realize is, plant starter fertilizers are intended when you first put the plant in the ground, but they're not meant to be used throughout the growing period of the plant. Correct. And that's why people, I think, seem to see a little bit of that burning and things like that. You really don't need to use it, for months on end. It's really meant to get a good root base, a good sturdy stalk, and that type of thing, and then move on to your other types of fertilizers. So maybe what we could talk about is like your foliage, your annuals for the summer this year, like a heavy feeder petunia.
Correct. And heavy feeders like petunias are always causing you to stay on your toes, because a small issue with a petunia can become a big issue real quick. In addition to making sure that they're well watered, oftentimes people will bring home petunias from the local greenhouse, and they might look beautiful, they might look absolutely amazing, and if you don't keep up with that regimen that they're used to, of that high feeding, high fertility, sometimes they'll start to get a little lanky on you. You might not see the flowers as much. Right.
We often recommend, certain annuals to say, keep fertilizing them every time you water. They might as well push the flower growth. They are an annual. They're one season. It's not something that's going to continue on in your house. You might as well, actually, what you're really doing is you're stressing them out. You might as well push that fertilizer, get as many blooms as you can, throughout the season, because it's going to end when winter comes.
And it doesn't always have to be a high chemical product. It sometimes addition to compost can help out, or using some of your organic products as well, like the kelp emulsifiers or the fish emulsion, especially for your young seedlings. At TBG we use fish emulsion and compost tea as a real high value fertilizer.
Okay.
And we make our compost tea on site, and we kind of aerate a mesh bag of compost into a large trash receptacle, and create a mixture of natural products with high levels of organisms that will benefit your plants. Because sometimes just throwing a chemical down is not going to activate the plant. You might need special microbes or a symbiotic relationship to really see a difference.
There's a lot of those compost tea making apparatuses out there for sale right now too.
Correct.
Gardener Supply, I don't know, some of the other seed catalogs, they all have them. So, and they're not huge. They're not. You don't have to have this huge contraption sitting in your backyard. So, something maybe people should look into a little bit.
And if you are looking at having an annual bed, I always recommend doing a soil test. I think that's really imperative, because you might have enough phosphorus in your soil to begin with, to the point where if you add it, you might actually get phosphorus toxicity. And that's if you have too much phosphorus in the soil, you might see some different colorations in the foliage. And then your first instinct might be to add more fertilizer, because it might have a purple or a pinkish hue to the leaves. And I'd recommend either taking them into like OSU Extension, or kind of taking into consideration what type of fertilizers you've been adding. Because you might do yourself a huge disservice by misdiagnosing something as having a deficiency with a toxicity, and then add too much to the point where you might actually even kill your plant.
Okay. And that's, I have this plant here. This isn't actually a burn from chemicals. It's an actual burn from the sun, since we've had such dips in temperatures up and down. Something that we do here with the temperatures rising, the hotter it gets, the less fertilizing we do.
Correct.
You don't want to have the heat burn like this plant has, as well as the burn from chemicals, so that plants tend to shut down a little bit in that hot heat. So people need to take into consideration those types of things when they're fertilizing them as well. And it's something that we have talked about with even houseplants in the wintertime. Readjusting your fertilizer according to weather conditions.
Oh, definitely. And the other thing that'll help you out, and a big benefit to yourself and to your plants, is taking a look at internodes. And they'll kind of give you a perspective of what type of condition the plant is, if it's very healthy, or if it's stretching for light, or if it's stretching because it might not have everything that it needs in that direct location. Could also be a symptom of over-fertilization. So oftentimes people pump a lot of plants full of nitrogen because they want lush green foliage. And they might actually promote so much vegetative growth that they might see a gargantuan plant start to appear. If they have these long internodes, there's a real easy way to solve this problem, and it doesn't always require fertilizer. Sometimes it just requires the use of your thumbs, or even some shears, to cut back the plant like this coleus right here. And then the added benefit is that it'll bush out, and you'll actually have a larger, bushier plant. And you can actually take this and root it up. And make some friends by exchanging plant material that way as well.
I don't think that people, I don't think people have to get too worked up over fertilizing issues. It's not something that you have to sit and get a book and read and study and things like that. A lot of resources out there. People can get online on the internet. Like you said, the OSU Extension is a very valuable resource. I think people can make a phone call. You can talk to your greenhouse people. They know a lot about different fertilizers, can make some recommendations. And I don't think it's something that you have to take notes and all that. It's just something to play around with. Just be aware of. Take note of some different colorations in your leaves. Look at how well your annuals are flowering, and read the labels of your fertilizers and see what they're intended for, and don't overdo it. It's kind of like your regular medicine. If it says 1, take 1. Don't take 5. And fertilizing is the same. It sometimes takes a few days for the fertilizer to take effect. And don't, if it says 1 tablespoon per gallon, 1 tablespoon per gallon. Don't dump the whole bag on top of your plant. So, any other little tidbits, Matt, you want to throw in there?
Be about it, and make sure if you have a great reference to keep that by your side as well. A great reference book.
All right. Thanks.